Hey everyone, and welcome back to OntarioCyrptids. Well, the snow just keeps coming down here, and we've had two more significant dumps of snow this past week in Toronto. One on Wednesday and the second on Friday. More shoveling to be had. I hope you all in the Northern Hemisphere takes it easy shoveling the snow. This stuff is wet and heavy. I have one encounter story to share with you all, which was forwarded from an OC community member named Joe. Joe has lived in Alaska for 12 years. 10 of those years were spent in remote Alaska. Today we are going to hear two unusual occurrences which took place while out enjoying the wilderness. Okay, if you have an encounter story that you would like to share, then please forward your stories to OntarioCyrptids@gmail.com. I would be honored to share your story with like-minded people. Now sit back and relax as we begin with today's encounters. This encounter takes place in the summer of 2017. We're going to be heading to Wrangell St. Elias National Park in Alaska. As stated previously, this first location is of the actual sighting, and it's going to be followed by the second encounter. In the summer of 2017, while I worked at a lodge located within the Wrangell St. Elias National Park, Wrangell St. Elias National Park is the biggest and most wild national park in the United States, with over 20,000 square miles or 13 million acres. One of the ways I would relax and enjoy the area was I would walk down to the toe of the Root Glacier. The Root Glacier was a place I would watch rock and ice slide and fall into the glacier lake. I often stopped and patiently waited for bears that often moved through the area. Towards the end of the summer, a friend and I decided to take a break and drive my pickup to the toe of the Root Glacier. I drove my beat-up Toyota and slowly drove down the trails, usually only used by four-wheelers, towards the toe. While I was driving, I noticed a black animal's head just over a small hill. I immediately got a very unpleasant headache, and I told my friend, "Bigfoot." It just popped into my head and out of my mouth, and I don't know why. I stopped the truck and shut it off, getting out of the truck and taking care not to slam the doors. My friend and I walked into the glacier scrub brush, where I thought the Bigfoot, or more likely an injured bear, went into the scrub. A little voice in the back of my head was screaming at me that this was not a bear. It was a person, and I should use extreme caution. However, my friend seemed not to be concerned. He actually was the first to see this person. Later, he said it was covered in hair, the traditional Bigfoot arm swing, and was moving very quickly. What I observed was a quick glimpse of a person who was covered in dark brown hair, and when the person ran, it moved with a speed that was impossibly fast. Nothing can move that fast, especially when through glacier rocks, scrub, and a few downed trees. I am an avid outdoorsman, some would say to the point of obsession. I have spent many weeks alone in some of the most remote areas of Alaska. I have seen human footprints in extremely remote areas. Most of the tracks are larger than my size 10 work boots. Some were small as a child, and some were enormous. For the brief second that I saw it glance at me, it was obviously shocked to see me, as I was to see a hairy man. The hairy man moved approximately 75 yards instantly. Then I saw a quick glimpse of it when it was running and jumping over down trees, then instantly shot forward into the forest and out of sight. This was just a very short interaction with a hairy man. Not very exciting, but seeing one in person and not just footprints has confirmed they are real to me. I am fortunate my friend was there and saw this creature. He was very excited and asked me if I had seen it. He told me the Bigfoot had the classic long arm and arm swing. It actually took me a long time to realize I saw something that isn't supposed to exist. At first, the hairy man sighting didn't change how often I went camping, hunting, and hiking alone in the remote areas of Alaska. But that changed one night while I was camping about 20 miles from a remote small town. Being in remote Alaska, you can camp wherever you want. During my many trips out on the road, I would follow old logging roads and cross at least 2 streams which were full of salmon in the late summer and early fall. Pushing through heavy alders on each side of the truck, I would drive the logging roads which were unmarked, and the roads had to be committed to memory to find your way into and out of the area. On that fall night, which comes early in Alaska, I was relaxing outside in a chair reading a book and watching the fire pit. I would use the headlight to read. As darkness quickly covered the area, I felt like I was being watched. Being in a heavy bare area, I thought it was best to get into the back of my SUV. I would occasionally glance at the fire, but being contained and being in a temperate rainforest, I wasn't concerned about forest fires. As I relaxed in the SUV, getting ready to go to sleep, I heard ravens cawing at night. That got my attention. The noise was incredibly loud. The raven sounds eventually faded away and ended in a sound like something mimicking ravens, but messed up at the end of the caw. I didn't think much of the ravens making noise at night. They often will when there is a predator around, warning the rest of the flock. Not even a minute after the ravens went quiet, I heard owls calling. The owls, which sounded like 2 of them, were incredibly loud. They were way off, but super loud. The 2 owls called back and forth to each other until one made an owl call, which sounded like a man was screaming like he was being slowly killed. Seconds later, the entire side of the mountain behind a gray-lined pond sounded like screams from hell. It was loud, so loud at times it would shake my chest like a subwoofer and wouldn't stop for minutes. Occasionally, a scream would come from 100 yards from my SUV on either side, but most sounded like they were on the side of the mountain behind a graying pond. There is no way to explain the hellish screams that came from the side of the mountain that night. I stayed listening to the calls and screams, amazed at what I was hearing. The screams would change and turn into super loud, crazy laughter, not laughter like a person, loud, baritone, demonic-sounding laughter, intermixed with a woman laughing and screaming like they are being tortured. I find it hard to describe. If I had to guess, I would say 40 to 50 creatures would scream and howl and then laugh. Once in a while, the screams would start suddenly, sounding like a coyote, and then ending sounding like an enormous wailing sound. When the loudest creature sounded off, all of the others would be quiet for a few seconds. Then, back to the screaming for minutes on end, then bizarre, almost demonic-sounding loud laughter. The volume of the creature I assumed was the largest was incredible. This creature would start its baritone laugh that would last for at least a minute with a volume that was like standing in front of a nightclub speaker, the kind that rattle your body. As strange as it sounds, it almost sounded like they were creatures playing some kind of game. I couldn't help but smile and shake my head, and at times laugh with them. It was so bizarre to have stumbled into a bunch of creatures laughing, screaming, and making a lot of noise. I was concerned about what the creatures were playing with or doing to bring screaming and laughing from them, but I tried not to think about it. Eventually I decided I'm not getting any sleep staying here, so in the middle of the night, about 12 midnight, I started the SUV up and drove deeper into the forest to a glacier. This area was about 2 miles from the Grayling Pond. I got out of the truck after shutting it off to listen to the sounds of the night and relieve myself. I was too far from the grilling pond, with a mountain and ridge between me and the pond, to hear the screams. I couldn't hear anything except the glacier ice dripping, cracking, and making its normal sounds. I was tired, and soon I was warm and sleepy in my SUV. I fell asleep quickly. I don't know how long it had been, but I heard something falling on top of my SUV. Laying there in complete darkness, I heard the sound of a small rock bouncing off my roof. I was tired, sleepy, and calm. I remember the words of a native friend. He said, "Just ignore them, let them do their thing." So I fell back asleep. In the morning, there was no sign of anything out of the ordinary. I enjoyed a hot coffee, a breakfast, as daylight washed the glacier. Waking up near the glacier in the early morning light is a spiritual experience for me. It is an absolutely beautiful view that I often see alone. What are these creatures that love to scream and laugh at night? I've seen their footprints, and they look too close to humans with a wider heel. Whatever makes the sounds in the forest and mountains do not deter me from going out hunting, fishing, berry picking, or hiking. I still visit the pond, but only in the daytime. It's a beautiful place that I'm always attracted to. I have visited this area many times a year for the last 10 years. I did see another Sasquatch person in the late summer of 2022, again at the Wrangell. I'll take some time and write that story up also. Joe, first off, thank you for submitting your encounter for me to share today. I think I can say on behalf of the OC community that we would love to hear your other Alaskan encounters. I must say, you were very calm out there while the chaos was happening around you. When I hear the word demonic, I don't think I would be enjoying the experience. You are one brave soul. I hope I did your story justice. By the way, Joe has a YouTube channel which I will leave a link in the description below. The video I showed was from Joe's channel. Thank you, Joe, for allowing me to share your encounter. I have another subscriber's encounter to share with you all. I recently did a telephone interview and I have a few other encounters to share, but first I need to transcribe them to text. Okay, if these stories reminded you of an encounter that you would like to share, then please forward your stories to OntarioCyrptids@gmail.com. I would be honored to share your story on this channel. Before I let you go, I would like to thank you all for viewing my shorts. It seems to be getting a great number of view counts, so thank you all. Much love to the OC community. Thank you for listening until the end. I truly appreciate it. Please hit the like button on your way out and smash the subscribe button if you're new to my channel. Have a great weekend, and I hope to see you all next week right here on OntarioCyrptids.